And I love how absolutely walkable this city is.
Yeah.
How pedestrian Philly is. Because pedestrian it creates connection, that people are not in their cars going from one place to another, that you can walk it. Specifically the downtown. If you compare Philly to like a Chicago or to an LA or God forbid like Houston, Texas, where people travel, underneath to stay in air conditioning all the time. Philly is highly pedestrian, and I love that about the city.
Yo, Philly, listen up to all our small business owners.
Not just our small business owners, also our entrepreneurs, our creators, our dreamers, our doers.
This is Small Business Saturday. Every week we're dropping knowledge about small businesses. Man, you know what? Just listen to the podcast.
But we try to do a cool intro. But however, we promise the podcast, we will be dropping gems, we will be dropping knowledge, we will be dropping tools you need to succeed in your small business.
All right, so every week, every Saturday, stay tuned for Small Business Saturday.
Let's get it.
Everyone, welcome back to another episode of Small Business Saturday. My name is Mac, and we are here with the infamous Ian Thomas, not the Belgian pop star or the American football player, but a Chicago native, not born and bred in Philadelphia, but someone who's been in Philadelphia for an area, making a splash, or let's say a jog, if you will, with See Philly Run, an innovative and experiential running company that takes all sorts of customers and Philadelphia natives or people new to the area on different running experiences throughout the city. So, Ian, a little bit of a backstory. Let's hear it from your perspective, because I know you've been here for a little bit and then moved away, but tell us how you got started with See Philly Run.
Thank you. So, like you said, I'm not originally a resident of Philly, but I have lived here for coming on almost 20 years. It's a long story to get to See Philly Run. I originally moved here in 2002. I've worked in the corporate world for 10, 15 years. I still have it. This is actually still a side gig for me.
Side hustle, nice.
This is a side hustle.
Good for you.
I am trying to grow it more. So I graduated from Temple last year, my MBA.
Congrats.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And it was a great experience. And I think the whole time I was going to get my MBA, I was thinking, everybody sort of thinks like, oh, I'm going to use this to move up in the company I'm with, or I'm going to transition to some other company.
Nope.
And I think I thought that's what I wanted to do, but then when I got done, I was like, no, actually, I think I was doing this the whole time to try to start my own business. And in the last, say, 2-3 years, I've gotten way healthier. Did like a complete life cleanse and got. I was always
unbelievable. Good.
That's all right. Somebody's calling. So just did a cleanse. And anyway, so about a year ago, I had this idea of like, I'm so into running. And the more I researched it, I was like, there's nobody out there that's really taking people out and seeing the city. And the more I thought about it, there's all these value propositions of you could see a lot in a short amount of time, kind of walk away and pat yourself on the back. You can show people different sides of the city because you have the same amount of time, but you can cover more ground basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's a whole other angle to this too, which, to be honest, I would love to grow this. I could scale this business in more than one way. This business could be scaled by not just doing running, first of all, but doing other activity. That's one. It could scale geographically, meaning we don't have to limit this to just Philadelphia. It could go out in different directions. Though I really am solely focused on Philly right now because Philadelphia is it's a really compact space, relatively speaking. Like if I compare it to Chicago, Chicago feels like there's things to see in Chicago. There's things to see all over Philly, right? But there's this heart of Philly that's really well gridded, very close together, super laid out. So you can see a bunch in this tight space, right? And not all cities can say that, right? So there's all these stories that are really close. That Philly, what I'm trying to say is Philly is really perfect for this. So anyway, I could scale one, different activities. Two, you could scale into different cities. And three, there's a whole digital side to this that I'm not even touching yet. Everything I do is analog, meaning it's come out and run with us. Yeah. And we'll if it's just a group of 5, we can do it without any technology. And some people love that too, because like you're saying, the experiential side, young people don't want this T on their back for tourists, but instead they want to be sort of feel like they're weaving through the streets with me, and like they want to feel local, right? And the more that you start to introduce all this technology, and I got this microphone and I got this speaker, and like that, it starts to make them feel like, you don't have a video here, but like don't look at me. Like people don't want that, right? They want to kind of like groove through it and not be seen or heard. So anyway, but if it gets big enough, then I take out and I have like a voice amplification, right? So if it gets to be like 10 people, then I got to do voice amplification. If I want to go even bigger than that, then we have to introduce different technologies whereby people sort of wear headphones and then I'm talking to them. But the digital product, the digital scaling would be I could sell things like podcasts like this that are geo driven. So then you say, oh, go left here and you tell this story and you can sort of lead them without being there. So I can scale it in terms of the amount of people I take out. I can scale it in terms of different activities. I can scale it geographically, and I can scale it sort of like a digital product rather than an analog. So there's 4 ways to scale. Yeah,
there's so many variables to this. I don't want to dig into the product right now. I want to learn more about it. So currently, when you take people out for a run like this running experience, you already have different routes mapped out. And how do you communicate to them now if you're saying it's not digital yet? Is it just like you're sort of like, hey, this is where we are?
So like the big one that I'm doing right now is called Philly Squared. That's the one that I kicked off. So I iterated this through Airbnb experiences. So you guys may or may not know it's a newer.
I do, yeah.
So I iterated, and it's still out there on Airbnb experiences. But don't book through Airbnb experiences. Book through me because but Airbnb doesn't take 20% cut.
Right.
But I don't care if you go through Airbnb. If that's easy for you, then go through Airbnb. That's fine. I'm just trying to spread the word. But so Philly Squared is we start at Washington Square, and then you kind of see Old City, and then you go up in Franklin Square, and then you kind of run through Chinatown, and you come up Market Street, and then you're at Penn Square, which is the central square, right? That's where City Hall is. And then you go down the Parkway, and you're at Logan Square, and then you go south on 19th Street, and we end up at Rittenhouse Square. So, but as I'm doing that,
how far is that?
That's around just about 4 miles, so a little bit underneath that. And we do it. When we go out, it's the biggest question I get from people is, what if people come with different, skills, athletic abilities?
Yeah, like what pace are we going at?
So I try to make that really clear up front that we are going to, nobody's going to break any personal records today on this tour, but don't show up in high heels. So and so long as we say that up front, people tend to kind of have a collective mutual understanding of how it's going to go. So we run like 10, 11, 12 minute mile pace, right? So and we stop along the way. I bring waters for people, and they take pictures, right? But what's funny is, so anyway, there's a way to kind of create this, have this median kind of experience in terms of speed and skill. But I actually think the more challenging and it's fun is more that the people's backgrounds can be way different. Meaning, like if I got a tour group and it's like 3 Marines, and then I have a couple from Ghana, right? Those people, what they're expecting, I got to try to make that experience good for both of them, even though they're coming from very different places.
Because you got 2 things going on. You have like the experience and the history and like the tourism side, but you also have like the athletic side.
Right.
You've got to cater to both, kind of.
So you have to kind of, I'm not trying to water down anything, but I'm trying to figure out. I'm reading the crowd and saying, how can I maximize this and create a universally good experience for everybody.
Have you thought about having like different levels? Like there's like a beginner and like an advanced.
Totally. Yeah, I have thought of that. I think it's just not at that size yet where that's necessary.
Yeah.
As I build word and the business grows, because this is slow season, right? I mean, it's cold outside right now.
Nobody's running out.
There are people. You'd be surprised. People. There's like commando people that do want to do this still in this hour at this time of year. But I really think this. Once the weather gets big, if I can get word out and build momentum, that it could. I want to be running like 2 or 3 times a day during the summer.
So what about the job then? Then it's gotta because is it a 9 to 5 or?
I gotta I'm still doing both, right? Yeah. So it's like.
Weekends.
Right now, weekends. No, I do both. Right now the runs are 9 to 5. Between outside that 9 to 5 hour so before 9 in the morning, after 5 at night.
Okay.
Right, and then if I have particular days off or whatever, then I'll do it at different times. But the demand for it is really not at 2 p.m. on a Wednesday.
No.
Not right now. That might be different.
When it's
like if it's July when the tourist season really peaks. And we'll have to see, you always got to create this balance. If that means I have to take people on to try to manage that, then we do that. Yeah.
What I genuinely love about your brand, it's not like something you just woke up like, hey, I just want to create this business. Like this is you combine two things you're genuinely passionate about.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know, which I just learned recently, so you have a degree in history.
Yes.
And so you already have a passion for just like learning about history, obviously, but then you also been running for years. So the way that you were able just to like, how can I combine my two passions together and create something out of it? That like when it comes to creating businesses, I mean, we're always like we're big on find out what your purpose is, find out what's gonna make you happy, not just something you'll be able to monetize. Obviously that's an add-on, but like when you get to it and then when you actually start building it, it becomes more like you love what you're doing. So, and I feel like especially when you have those people that are coming and running with you, they'll be able to feel your energy. They'll be able to feel like this is something you're doing because you're genuinely passionate about it.
100%.
And I'm just going over the testimonies on your website. Like it seems every single body that runs with you, it's always a great turnout. I mean, I love it because you're promoting health and wellness. It's not, tours, they're great, but sometimes you can fall asleep during them, they're long. But this way you're building a community with everyone that comes out. As this is something that you can get your girlfriends with. You can do like something you bring with your friends, and you're building like that team spirit. And you're also learning at the same time too. So I mean, I love my city, Philadelphia. I know I definitely want to, side note after this, want to book this, like do something like kind of bond this with my friends.
I'll give you some promo codes.
This is definitely, I'm excited for this, just to learn more about the history of my city while like promoting like health and wellness as well too.
Cool.
So
Thank you.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's definitely this. I struggled with that for a long time to try to. I've always wanted to have an idea.
Yes.
I want something that, and then it. I know it sounds crazy because you don't want to tell people to wait for an epiphany, but I kind of did sort of.
What was it?
I think one day I just realized I wrote down the things that I liked to do. Mm-hmm. Like I really love history, and I really love running.
What do you love about running? What do you love about that?
That's a good question.
Yeah,
so running is, I think I like this idea that you can, especially city running, that you can see a lot in a short amount of time. You can really go anywhere. You end up in all these spaces that you otherwise would not be, and it's super almost Zen-like meditational if you really get into running, because you're sort of out. You can completely unplug. You're not, you're just by yourself, right? I think that, and I'm somebody that likes to be around people. I'm a social person, but I think that meditational side of running, that therapeutic side of running, and I've gotten in really good shape running too. So like, I like that side too. Like physically, I'm in a good place due to running mostly.
What do you listen to while you run?
So I'm gonna date myself here. So I'm a really huge hip hop fan. So like I'm more of a '90s hip hop fan. But I actually don't listen to that. To be honest, what I most often listen to, I have Apple Music. I'm pulling up my Apple phone here. I most commonly listen to the A-list hip hop, which is right now Future, Meek Mill, Post Malone. Yeah, it's like 21 Savage. That's what I listen to. Like it's really.
Shout out to Apple for creating this playlist for us.
That is my most common playlist that I listen to.
I was expecting like some history podcast.
Yeah.
Come on, he makes it fun.
If I need, like that is.
It's like back in 17.
Right. No, because let me say this too. Like, I think that's another aspect of this of what I'm doing is like, you were Delilah was trying to touch on it a little bit, that like tours can be, and again, no disrespect to my other friends out there in the association of Association of Philadelphia Tour Guides, which I'm a part of, and their tours, right? But a lot of people, younger folks, the way that information is processed this day and age is a lot of headlines, right? Like you look at headlines, you might read the first paragraph, boom, move on, read a paragraph, move on, get the gist,
Yeah.
right? And that's the kind of tour that I'm trying to give people, right? I'm not telling any lies, right? But that we can do that because we're moving so fast.
Right.
Tell me something cool about this. Don't just tell me facts. Don't say so-and-so was born and died here. Tell me something weird or interesting about that, boom, and then move on. So that's the way that people process information right now, right? Due to whatever, due to the internet. So, and that's the kind of tours that I'm trying to provide. That is a lot of headlines and cool headlines and stories.
I just went on a recent tour with Sarah and a couple other people. It was a ghost tour in Philadelphia.
I haven't done that one yet.
You heard about that?
And how was it?
I mean, they sort of like make some stuff up, obviously, to like make it sound
like,
more
I heard
interesting.
something. Like, ooh, what was that?
No, that probably would have made it more
episode of
interesting.
Scooby-Doo.
That would have made it more interesting. No, they tell you some stories that are real and some stories that aren't real, and you just kind of got to figure out, I don't know which is which. Like, just of different ghost sightings and appearances. The one they were talking about, this guy who was like, there was this guy terrorizing England in like the 15 or 1600s.
Okay.
And not the Reaper, but
Jack the Ripper?
Jack the Ripper.
That's not the 15... Did you say the 1500s?
When was that?
It's like the 1800s.
The 1800s?
Yeah. Late 1800s.
Well, they said he came over to the U.S. and like that was the myth that they saw like his ghost and he was like attacking some woman.
Jack the Ripper came over and was slashing throats on the streets of Philadelphia.
Well, did they ever find him though?
I think they figured out who he was. Right?
Yeah.
I think there's a bit of a myth about him though too, that like, you know, sometimes people just become bigger than, you know what I mean, than what they really truly are, especially in that, you know, well, media this day and age too, but then, you know, you got to sort of create stories that people want to read in.
Yeah. What was, I guess getting back to how you started, what was like the thing that got you started then, since you had the idea and you're like, this is what I love, this is what I want to do, like what was the next step?
All right, so I think I started to, you know, just do some research on, you know, who else, if anyone, was doing this in the city. Yeah, competitive analysis.
Is there?
There is.
There's another running tour.
There's not. So there are other.
We don't have to mention.
No. I mean, there's other, you know, agencies that do tours here that are similar but not the same. And I think that they're not Philly centric like I am as well, right? So that's a differentiating, and I think differentiating for me too is that as much as we're talking about tourists coming through the doors, I'm also very interested in this as a B2B product, right? Not just a B2C. Like I'm not just selling every Tom, Dick, and Harry that comes to the visitation center, but I'm a member of the convention center, so I'm plugged into. There's a lacrosse tournament, or there's this cardiac.
That's amazing.
So I'm connected to all that. So I start to reach out to those event planners way in advance and say, hey, look, just blend me into your programming. And it's something interesting for you people to do. It's a way for like event of people that are here on business, maybe they're here for a few days, to sort of ground themselves, better understand the city, be more engaged than they otherwise would be. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. And that's an abstract sell to some of these event planners, but people get it. Like it makes sense to people, and that's the more that I do this, the more it's self-reinforcing, and it starts to make sense. So I'm also trying to sell this or offer this to businesses in the city of Philadelphia. I was going to ask
you, like, for corporate.
So Aramark or like Comcast or like Urban or even, you know, smaller businesses, you know, in the sense of you've got wellness executives that are like, you know, they're always trying to reduce premiums, insurance premiums, and they always want their employees to be engaged, and they want, you got these out-of-towners, 3 programmers that are in from India, or, these 2 guys that are up from Brazil, and not everybody wants to just go and crush like a bunch of cheesesteaks and have a bunch of beers. Like some people are like, well, let's do something different. Yeah. So it's just something to put into their arsenal of something different to do, whether that's to entertain local employees in terms of team building, or whether it's to show people the city of Philadelphia that are here on business, and that could be co-workers, that could be vendors, that could be your customers, anything. And that is a new, like, I cannot tell that anybody else is doing this with sort of athletic tours.
I've never heard of this before.
Oh, let's go.
I'm so
Put
excited.
on the sneakers.
I literally just want to get my friends together and do this. I can't wait.
So, Yeah, no, I'm going.
Your hair's awesome. By the way.
Yeah,
thanks.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Wish you guys could see his curly hair.
We got kind of the same thing going.
Yeah, your curl's a little more tighter than mine.
I'm tighter.
But...
Yeah. And I was gonna say one more thing. How did you? What was your question? You asked me how.
I have another question.
How it all came together.
Yeah, how it all came together is definitely.
It's.
What was the first run?
The first run was with this. That's funny. This just one girl that was up here from. Her name was Amanda. She was up here from Baltimore.
Let's go, Amanda! Shout out!
Yay!
So Amanda was here, and she was just doing like some off by herself. I think she wanted to get away from Baltimore for some reason. I mean, I consider Baltimore like a sister city of Philly, so it was just a short jump up to Philly. And
was she here for work or just travel or just?
She was like this. Yeah, no, she's like a college kid that was just up here for a day or two, and randomly found me and was like, "I want to go." That's the first person I ever took out.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Did you already
it
have
was
a
just
route
organic
mapped?
reach, or
I did. I already had stuff established. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, what did she find you on?
yeah, how she find
Airbnb.
you? Like,
That was the Airbnb experience.
Okay.
Yeah. So my website was only went live in December. So it's only been live for like almost 2 months.
Yeah, so you closing out 2018?
Yeah, I got
it.
So I got it out right before that was my goal. Get it out.
And it's a beautiful website, side note.
All built.
Guys, go to cphillyrun.com. It is amazing. It's really well put together.
Thank you.
What'd you use?
Squarespace.
Squarespace?
Yeah.
Dang.
One other thing. Let me just say too. That's differentiating about what I offer is when you're done. Because you have to give me your email when you sign up. Mm-hmm. You're immediately flipped. The second that the register. So say you're supposed to be done at 10:30. At like 10:35, 5 minutes after completion, there's a message sent to you with a code that you have to enter this password, and then you're given a customized map of where we just went. Within like a 1 through 50 of these are the things that we saw, and then like a legend of like a 5-word blurb of what that was. So that lets people.
That's awesome.
So that lets people. What this is because a lot of people are like trying to stop and they're writing things on their phone, or they're like, "Oh, what was that?" and ask me questions, which is fine. It's a conversational experience.
Yeah.
But I want to tell people up front, just enjoy it, come out, relax, have a good time, because everything we see, you're gonna have this. You're gonna have the whole map of what we just did to enjoy afterwards.
What's the furthest run people can go on?
The longest one I got is a beer run that kind of ends actually up here. It's a 5 mile. The 5 miles is as high as I go.
Oh, it's a 5 mile beer run.
Right. So we start in Old City, and we basically kind of crisscross across Old City, and then we go back over through almost over close to City Hall, and you already have seen like 4 or 5 breweries there.
Yeah.
And then we end up going through the rail park.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And then by the rail park, then suddenly you got Love City Brewing. I don't know if you know them.
Oh, shout out, love them.
Love City Brewing. And then you got Roy Pitts Barrel House, who I'm doing a couple events with next month.
Yep.
And then Yards is up there. Urban Saloon is right here.
Yeah.
Fishtown Brew Pub is up here. You have
Evil Genius.
tons of stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So you basically run by about on the 5 mile. I say it's like about 18 different beer-related sites. Most of them are breweries.
Wow.
And the 3 miles, it doesn't. But we stop, right now we either stop, because I have sort of promotional stuff going on with Love City or with Roy Pitts, so we stop.
Is it slower pace then? It's like if I'm drinking all this beer.
We don't drink, we don't drink. That's part of my insurance agreement that we can't be drinking while we're running, but instead I buy you a beer at the end.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
So I get some promotional sort of relationship stuff with those breweries, and then they say, if you bring in so many people per month, then you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love because again you've only been doing this for about 6 months.
6 months, let's say. Yeah.
And how you've been active to make sure you're gaining all these partnerships and building these relationships. Like this is what people would take 6 months to do in general before they even launch a business. So the fact that you're just like, I'm doing this, I'm going full throttle, I'm putting this 100%, and again, like you had your first customer that wasn't even, your cousin or something. No. It was literally an actual lead.
A real customer. And I've taken out a lot of friends and family too, right? Because that's always, I mean, if you do something like this, you need that. Mm-hmm. And you need like unfiltered advice.
Yes.
You have to get you have to get people, but you need strangers too. Like you can't just do friends and family.
No, of course.
But a mix is good as well.
I'm just genuinely proud of you, just seeing.
Thank you.
I know I just met you, but like,
bonding.
I would think honestly that you've probably been doing this for at least minimum 2 years.
Yeah.
With how everything is just so professional.
The NBA, man. Props to Temple. Props to Fox School of Business.
Temple.
Most sponsor.
Of this, no, really though, really. I would never. If I never went to Temple and got my MBA, you know, I would not have had the wherewithal or like the confidence to be able to put the whole business plan together and launch it, right? Because a lot of people, I think they think it's all this work to, you know, get an LLC or get your insurance or register with the city, register with the state, get your tax site. I mean, yeah, but in the end, you know, it's not that. It's not it. Millions of people do it.
Millions, yeah.
Just do it if
what
you want to do it.
What would you say has been your biggest struggle of like since starting your business?
I mean, I think, and I won't, I think it's like SEO, right? So I think it is trying to get myself to trade because there are other companies that have done it longer, right? And trying to get myself above them on my on my search rankings has been tough. I think I'm in the process of changing my calendar on the website, which it's just to a more kind of user-friendly experience. Because what I find is that I got a lot of people that are interested and they go in and then they don't book, right? Which is going to happen, right? I don't know what my conversion rate's supposed to be, but if you look at this right now, right? So you're looking at it.
This page?
They're looking at the calendar page. So you see my run types, but people that are visiting the city, they don't really care about the run types. They just want to go run. What they need to see first is the dates.
Yeah.
And then show them what the run types are.
Right.
Because people are like, I'll do the Rocky run, I'll do the Philly Square run, I'll do the beer run. I just want to do it on the 14th of February. So I need to have that calendar up first that you click on the calendar.
What's
anyway,
this through?
So that's through Acuity. So Acuity is and they've been good, man. Their customer service has been good. So
you click on it, and the calendar comes up last, and then
I want the calendar to come first. I want to be able to toggle. So just I think building the website was a lot. I mean, that's just more work than you think it's going to be. But I think if you understand what your messaging is, it's it can be done. But I took my time with getting the website up because I had the luxury of being able to still offer my product through Airbnb. And just, I think not that much different than SEO, but, just spreading word. Because in the end, I have so many people that are like yourselves that have never done it. They're like, oh, on paper, this looks phenomenal. And like event planners that are like, whoa, I got thousands of people for you. But the proof's in the pudding if people actually come out. And, I think, just that spreading the word, whether that's SEO or whether that's for handing out flyers or whatever it is, trying to get the word out when you're competing against people that have been doing it much longer than you.
Yeah. What's worked the best so far? Getting the word out.
I think I got a buddy that has a labels business called Dutch Label Shop, plug, RN. And they've been around for a long time, and they make labels so people on Etsy that are like, it doesn't have to be people on Etsy, but it's a lot of that whole Etsy that want to give something fancy for either the tags or.
Yeah. So
he was able through his own SEMrush. He gave me like his SEMrush, and then I used his SEMrush to then look at a bunch of different competitors. SEMrush is right, and I think just learning from my competitors the way that they were using keywords was big. That changed, and I think I started doing a blog. And I think just trying to create content that's actually people want to come in and look and then bounce around your site, even if it's just they do a few different clicks in interior to your site. That's
so you think it's your website driving most new business? Like, what do you think is driving you most of your business right now? I
think it's a combination of word of mouth and the website, and then just whatever, man. Again, this is so new. I'm pounding pavement. Lowe's Hotel I'm talking to Lowe's Hotel next week.
Yeah.
This week I had a meeting with Hotel Monaco, which is right across the street from Liberty Bell. Local hotels, which is down in Old City. I don't know if you know them. They're real like a nice little fancy kind of small boutique hotel.
Right.
Just trying to get those folks. I think that I could find a brand of a hotel that fits my brand, and also, you know, a hotel that obviously they need to have a lot of people through, right? I can't. I like local hotel is great. Their brand I think lines up with me, but like at the other side, like Lowe's Hotel is nice too, and Lowe's Hotel is like have so many more visitors, right? And Hotel Monaco is fantastic too because of where they're located, and they're pretty big too, and their demographic overlaps with mine, I think too. So, having
worked with other tourism companies, even specifically in Philadelphia, I know their target market was kind of split into 3 different, you know, areas.
Okay.
It was people completely tourists, just tourists.
Yeah.
So like, oh, they're from
Alabama.
Europe or they're California. But then there's people that's like a hybrid between local tourists.
Yes.
Like mainline Jersey, people that like want to experience the city because they're not in the city. And then you have people in the city that either they've been living there for a while or just a short amount of time and they want to experience stuff too.
I get all that.
So it's like the 3 markets.
All that. Yeah, that all applies to this. I definitely get a lot of like suburbanites that are sort of like, oh, you know. I took this family of 8 out about a month ago. Then it was just this family that was they weren't really from the suburbs. They were from Lancaster. And they just wanted to come out and run the city. And they were like, they lived in Lancaster but never come here. For them, it was this like foreign land. Oh my god! And they loved it.
You could crush it with Facebook ads and Instagram ads.
You really could.
Yeah, like you could run an ad. What's like an average age range?
I just discovered Facebook Pixel like this week, so
throw it on the website. Let's see if it's got it.
I don't think it does because I don't think I've set it up right yet. I literally just started. Oh,
there it is.
Okay. Yeah, but I don't know how to use it.
It's already working. Now you just set up the remarketing behind it. I can show you. Take a couple minutes. You could literally target your age range. That's like the average, the city, like the area, as small or wide as you want it, and people who love running and people who love beer and people who are active runners and like active drinkers. Like,
I think there's a bunch of ways to attack this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need your help.
There's some cool stuff you could do for sure. I mean, you just seem like someone who's like really on top of it. You know what I mean?
I do?
Yeah.
Thank you. Like I feel like I'm barking up the right trees.
I talk to business owners all the time. And for you to have a Facebook pixel on your website or like scheduling on your website that you built yourself, you're ahead of the game.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Props to Temple.
Did you find us or we found you? I forget.
I'm pretty sure I reached out to you guys.
The Instagram maybe?
Yeah, I think what happened was I believe a month or 2 ago I reached out and then somebody said they were going to get back to me and then didn't. And then I think I reached back out and they were like, oh, I think the email didn't come through or something like that.
Okay.
But it might have been when I reached out, I think my website wasn't up yet and I might have looked like kind of half legit.
Okay.
And now I actually have some sort of presence.
Boom.
And you're like, let's talk to this guy. Okay. All right, now you're good enough.
Now we talk to him.
Yeah, I think that it was something like that.
What's the most popular run?
It's that Philly Square. But I don't think that's not... I mean, I like it, but it's not my favorite one. It's just the one that I've started with. You know what I mean? It's the one where I have the most reviews, and it's the one that it trends high. And I think it's just because more people have done it.
But aside from those runs that's on your website, you also create custom packages as well, too.
So
how would that work? If someone were to come to you, like give it an example, like someone were interested in going to you.
So for example... I'm trying to. I want that to happen with the event planners at the convention center, right? So there's a big. I didn't know this, so this is pretty cool. So this summer, apparently, the Philadelphia hosts the National Gay Softball Leagues, right? Oh. So like I would do a tour. Like I don't have any tour that sort of goes through, for example, like the gayborhood or like civil rights type stuff. So I would, if somebody was to, and this is just an example of some, like a very specific thing that somebody can relate to, right? That if somebody was to come to me and say, oh, I think we'll have 50 people, and we're going to be here on so-and-so date, and this is why we're going to be here, then I would take that information and say, okay, give them a couple different options of, we could do this, or we could do that, we could split it up into this many groups, we could look through this area and then just give them some sort of pricing and then see, I don't want to go in a back and forth of, a million emails. So I want to try to, I have like a questionnaire form where I would have them fill this out, and I come back with a proposal, and maybe there'll be another response from them, and then I go back, and then we settle up.
Yeah.
But that's how it would work. And if the pricing's not going to be too much different than what I'm already doing online, it might be a little bit more because these runs, the ones that I have set are like it's already kind of a well-oiled machine. The more you got to customize, the more it costs, just because it's taking more of my time.
Can you kind of go throughout the process of how, like what you go through to create these runs? So someone would come to you exactly like, that prospective client. So do you run yourself throughout the neighborhood, and do you just figure out like, these are the facts I want to share? Like, how do you go about creating the package?
Okay, so I should have taken a picture. So I have this huge map of Philadelphia in my bedroom, which then has like pins on it of if that's, if something's there and what is called. So I spent, prior to even doing this, basically I finished school about a year ago, and then I spent like the first half of last year trying to create authenticity of, being an authority on the city. So I ended up joining the APT, and the APT test is actually like, it's hard. It's this book of like 1,000 different things that you have to memorize. It's people and places. So I think I built up this wealth of knowledge, and I created my own sort of internal little library of information. And then I'm just trying to consume information when I have time. Like Philadelphia Encyclopedia, for example, is just a random website that's like really, really good. There's like the Historical Society of the city. So if I have a good base, and then I got this map, and so if like I'm doing, here's a good example. This in March, I'm doing a run for Temple. Okay. Like I'm doing for their alumni association, and there's a lot of stuff you can find about Temple, like whether that's Temple alumni or this so and so person, but a lot of it's it's in North Philly, it's in the Temple area,
right? And
that's not where I want to take this run. Like what I want to do is take what I already have and then blend it with some new Temple stuff. So I'm in the process of researching that right now, but I'm going back to my network, which is this APT, and I just put that out to that, like I'm sort of open source. Hey, look, I want to know some stuff about Temple that's between Vine and South and between the rivers, like people that were born, and just through my network and through my own research, I think I can throw together like, get another 15 to 20 pieces of information and then dump that inside of something that like I kind of already have canned.
Yeah.
And then you create this, because nothing just comes from nowhere, right? You take stuff that's already built and then you tweak it to match your audience. And that's how
those guys know a lot too.
Totally. There's some of these people,
bookworms.
Some of them, yeah, they love it. And I like, within that group myself, I consider myself a businessman first, a runner really second, and a historian kind of third.
Yeah, they're all like historian first.
Right. So when that can happen sometimes at those meetings, which I love to go to, and I hear it out, but it tends to being like it can be like arguments about when did Alexander Hamilton die in April or March of 1810, and I'm sort of like, there's no tourist that really cares about this, guys. They just want to hear a cool story, like that like the cowboy hat was invented in Philly and you didn't know that, or stuff like or fast food. Yeah.
Oh.
What else you got?
Cowboy hat. I'll tell you right. So have you heard of Stetson? The company Stetson. Stetson is the most famous hat.
Yeah.
Cowboy hat company. So that's John Stetson, who's from Jersey, and then in the mid 1800s, when he graduated from college, he didn't come to Philly first. He went out west and did some like frontier work, and at that point there was no cowboy hats, but he had like a textile background. He comes back to Philly after he didn't really find what he was looking for in the frontier, and starts a hat company that he wanted a hat that had a brim all the way around, like a cowboy hat.
That's interesting. I would have thought it was
Kensington
you
is
would have thought it was
the Stetson
in the South.
Stetson hats, exactly. So when you tell like a person from Texas, Stetson hats is Philly. It's a Philly company, and the first cowboy hat had talk about branding. It was called Boss of the Plains.
Okay.
It's like the best name. So anyway, that's just like random stuff like that. I feel like people are interested in that. There's a ton. There's all these crazy little side stories about the city that you can tell that people love. that is like not the kind of recycled. People love Ben Franklin, man, but there's some like so many stories have been told so many times. It's nice to be able to tell something a little bit different.
Two questions. What's your favorite part of the city to run in? And second question, what's your favorite part of history of Philadelphia to talk about during the run?
So the favorite part of the city to run in, I'm not going to be too crazy here, but I do like Fairmount Park. I love running Fairmount Park. So whether that's doing the loop, so most runners in Philly know that like there's like the Kelly Drive loop, which is you essentially run across. You start at the art museum and then run up to Falls Bridge and then run up one side and then come back the other.
How far is that?
That's a fairly long run. That's about an 8 to 8.5 mile run.
One day.
So I try to run that in an hour if I'm like crushing it.
No.
If I can get more or less right around an hour when I'm really going top clip. But I don't want to say, there's a lot of great parts about Philly. My favorite part of history. I think just because it's so unknown that whole time frame, around, and again, this is connected to like Fairmount Park, but like the 100th anniversary, like the centennial. So people don't know this, that Philly was this industrial powerhouse, like in the 1800s.
Yeah.
It was smoggy, and it was, like it was an industrial power. It was factories everywhere.
They're mostly not in Center City, but
sure there was stuff in Center City. Yeah, there was stuff all over, right? And like that's the reason why folks started moving west. Well, people always were around when the port of Philadelphia was more important. People were closer, right? Like they were closer to the port. But then, as it becomes, if you had money, you were trying to get away from this smoggy industrial craziness, right?
I want to look at a picture of like Philly in the 1800s.
But like in 1876, that was this huge, incredibly successful first World Fair in the United States.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So.
He's getting us excited
like
about
the
we haven't even done a run yet.
Like the typewriter was introduced, and like the telephone's introduced. There's the largest building that was ever constructed was out there at that time. We had people from all over the world that came here. So that part of history is super neat. I find actually like Franklin Square to be this really interesting space. Like if you compare that to say like Washington Square, because Franklin Square, there's a few different things going on. Like nobody really, it's never been this place to go, and it was a skid row. Like the end of the 20th century, it was it was rough, right? Like people didn't go there. And why did it evolve in such a different way than say Washington Square? Well, like Franklin Square was always right next to, so where Chinatown is now was this kind of like seedy area that was near what used to be a really big train station. Where Reading Terminal Market is, right. There was this huge train station. I don't know if you guys have ever traveled that much, but around like trains, like if you ever go to Europe, right, like around the train station, it's always all this like very like transient people that are just here for a night, right? So a lot of vice, like prostitution and drugs and stuff like that tended to be kind of in that area. So Franklin Square was always really kind of close to that, right? But then other events happened, like they built the Ben Franklin Bridge, and they had to tear down these buildings right outside. And then when they did that, right after that, then the Depression happened. So they couldn't build back up because there was no money to build things, right? So then it stayed like bald right there.
Yeah.
And they built the Independence Mall post-World War II. Again, ripped all this stuff down. And it's always been this, they built the Vine Street Expressway right there. I don't know if you knew this, but where the Vine Street Expressway was supposed to be, there was supposed to be also a South Street Expressway. Did you know that?
No.
They were originally going to do two. And that's why South Street turned into this sort of, I don't know what you think about South Street now, but it was like in the 60s, 70s, 80s, like this counterculture sort of place. A lot of like smoke shops.
In what, 60s, 70s? Okay.
Yeah. Why'd that happen? Well, that happened because they said they were going to build the South Street Expressway. So everybody vacated that area. Right? They vacate that area, and then sort of squatters move in, artists move in because it was all cheap, right? And then in the end, the city said, "Oh, we're not going to build that." Like there was enough protest to not put that expressway there.
There was going to be an expressway that
just like Vine Street Expressway. There's going to be one going one way, another one going the other way.
Oh.
Across the city. Thank God they didn't do that, right? There's all types of stuff the way that they built, this whole what Queen Village is and that whole area and its connection to South Street and like how South Street used to be the southern border of the city, and why people lived on the south side because they couldn't afford, and like immigrants. There's tons of crazy history down there. And now the Queen Village is like it's one of the best places in the city to live. But 20, 30, 40 years ago, no.
Franklin Square is where they have that like Chinese festival, right?
Yeah, so when I always tell people there's kind of two main things, there's three things about that square. One, it's where they say that Franklin did the Kite and Key.
Ah.
It's two, it's very close to Chinatown, so it has this like heart, it has a connection to Chinatown, so it has this connection to kind of diversity, because Chinatown in and of itself is really interesting. Why Chinatown developed, and it's, parallels in some ways to why the European immigrants came here 200 years prior to that. It's not that much different, right? And Chinatown is also this kind of Pan-Asian kind of area where, it's not just Chinese, but there's other folks there, and they're very protective about that area. But so there's that connection too. And the fountain too is like the oldest fountain of its kind in the country as well, which is super interesting. There's no public fountain. It's like I think it's the oldest continuously running public fountain in the country.
Oh, wow.
Does that also answer the second question of like, what's your favorite thing to talk about during the tour?
Nah, I wouldn't say. Actually, Franklin Square could be kind of tough to talk about because, to be honest, people they don't always want to hear this like turmoil, struggle, story. They want to just hear fun stuff.
Right.
I love telling people about the love statue, like what that history is. People tend to like that. I don't know. I don't really have. There's so many different. It depends on what the tour is. The love statue. You guys know the story of the love statue?
We don't.
I think I do.
You want to hear it? I know I'm probably talking too much here. But you curious at all?
No, yeah, go ahead.
Give it to us.
So love statue. I'm like giving away everything from my tour, but you could look this stuff up. But the love statue. So first of all, the city of Philadelphia was named by Penn, and that is Phila Adelphos, which means Phila is Greek love, and Adelphos is brother. So there was always this love is in the name, right? So it's always been this. Philly comes from the Quaker who is Penn, this harmony, sort of trying to coexist, folks next to each other. I mean that was the original sort of utopian vision for the city. Anyway, 1974, as we're approaching to have the bicentennial in Philly, they wanted to have something that said love, like sort of spoke to the name of the city itself, City of Brotherly Love. And they found this artist, Robert Indiana. He had made the image, which is the love image, for the Met Museum in New York for their holiday card, like in the mid-'60s. That image exists, so knocked on the door, called him and said, hey, can you make a statue of that? And he said, okay, sure, I'll make it. Because they're going to make it for the bicentennial. So they make it, goes up, it's this huge hit, picture, still to this day, it's probably the most iconic thing along with the Liberty Bell. And but then 2 years pass, and Robert Indiana, it leases up, you can buy it, or I got to take it back, right? The city had not bought it, right? They'd only leased it.
What?
And so the city is like, well, how much is it to buy it? And he asked for $40,000, and the city could not come up with $40,000. So the owner of the Sixers at that time, whose name is Fitz Dixon, so the art of the deal, came in to like cut a deal. He came in and sort of offered like $30,000, and then Robert Indiana said 35, and they shook on 35. So the owner of the Sixers came in to then keep it. So like otherwise he was going to take it down and it wouldn't even be there anymore. But anyway, I love that name, Fitz Dixon. That's like people probably. I feel like that's just like this like hardcore American name. Not only is he like art of the deal, but it's like Fitz Dixon. So yeah, that's why it's here. And by the way, Robert Indiana just died like a couple months ago too, just randomly. He just passed away. So he's the guy and he's actually from Indiana too.
I'd say sort of just some wrap up questions here.
Sorry, I'm like talking all.
No, don't look. You're passionate about what you do, so don't apologize for that.
This is a long answer, probably. But what's just like?
I'll keep this short.
What's your favorite thing about Philadelphia in general?
What's my favorite thing about Philadelphia? Even though I don't walk I do walk.
You
I
don't.
He just runs everywhere.
I run and bike. I love the fact that people underappreciate, and I love how absolutely walkable this city is.
Yeah.
How pedestrian Philly is. Because pedestrian it creates connection, that people are not in their cars going from one place to another, that you can walk it. Specifically the downtown. I mean, if you compare Philly to like a Chicago or to an LA, or God forbid like Houston, Texas, where people travel, underneath to stay in air conditioning all the time. Philly is highly pedestrian, and I love that about the city. That's always been. And I mean, like I said, I wasn't born here, but I moved here like almost 20 years ago, and I think I love how the city, is this evolving, totally different. I mean, it's such a different place than what it was in 2002. I love the fact that it's this sponge that's like changing, and I don't know what it's going to look like in 5 years. What do you guys love about Philly? Am I not supposed to ask that question?
I just like the small town feel with the big city vibe.
City vibes, yep. I just love how that diverse it is too.
Yeah.
Like, it's really something I don't take for granted at all. So you get people from so many different backgrounds, can learn from anyone, and at any given moment. But yeah.
Nice.
Where can everybody listening find you online?
cphillyrun.com.
Social medias.
Instagram /cphillyrun. Facebook /cphillyrun. I'm on Yelp. I am on TripAdvisor. I'm probably going to get up on Expedia.
You will get up on Expedia.
We'll do it. Next steps for C Philly Run. What's next for you? What's big? What's on your agenda?
So next steps. So this year, my goal is to take in 2019. I want to take 2,000 people out. Right. Nice. That's the goal. 2,000 people. I want to deepen the partnerships. I mean, that's really what I'm trying to do. Like, I have a partnership with Temple where I'm taking them out. But I want it to be not just alumni. I'd love it to be like their foreign students, or I'd like it to be part of like orientation, or I want it to be part of their sports teams or something like that. So concentrate on a couple partners. Temple. I have an event with Philadelphia Runner. Have you guys ever heard of them? Probably, maybe not. It's like the authority, and like they have like 6 stores.
Okay.
So I'm doing co-sponsored events with them. In about a month, I have one February 28th. So I want to continue to try to.
Website,
yeah, we're trying to build with them. I want to land a couple convention center, event planners, and get in with visitphilly.com. Right, they're the kind of like the holy grail that I have not been able to connect with yet. Visitphilly.com is hard to get to. Beyond that, I already kind of mentioned a little bit about how I'm trying to scale, how I'm trying to grow, but. Like I said, that's taking more people out at a time, figuring out good ways to do that where the experience is not eroded. Because what I don't want to do is, people love it right now. Everybody that comes out, I've not had a single person not say they didn't like it. Every single person's been like, that exceeded my expectation.
Yeah.
I want to offer this experience to more people, right? But not erode the experience, and that's not that easy to do. So make sure I do that. Create a digital offering, right? Sometime in 2020, have a digital offering, which was this sort of create a podcast where somebody could go out and do it by themselves. Long term is, find another city or two. Like I said, my wife is from the Netherlands. If I could do this, if I could do one here and have another one in Amsterdam and like live half, that would be really fun. And I own a few other domains that are connected, that are like this, that allow me to generalize, meaning.
See Chicago Run.
Totally. Yeah, or C City Run / or C City Go / so it doesn't have to be just running, because a lot of people are turned off by running. So I want to be able to figure out different ways to either do a different activity or do a different city, right? So sort of turn the knobs in different ways to scale.
It's amazing. I'm excited. No,
So,
guys, like again. Just to talk about what he said, See Philly Run is not your typical tour. This is an action-packed, fun, healthy, local, and unique experience. Please make sure you stay tuned. I know it's a little bit cold right now, but the weather's going to be getting nice soon. Make sure you get your friends together. Make sure you get your family together. It's a fun experience to just do something with your friends while you're also learning about your city as well.
See Philly Run, Ian Thomas.
Thank you so much. I mean, you just plugged for me, so I don't got anything to add to that. I mean, I hope. I really appreciate you guys taking this time to talk to me and picking me out, to have this conversation and allow me to get a little more exposure than I otherwise would.
We're excited for you.
Thank you.
You
guys should definitely come. SeePhillyRun.com. Please come check me out.
No, I'm definitely gonna book. I'm definitely gonna book with you.
Thank you.
Excited.
Cool.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All set.